Hello and welcome. Today's guest spent 20 years in the entertainment industry, interviewing the biggest stars in the world. And he found that they all had one thing in common. Despite their fame and their riches, they were unhappy. Understanding that success did not equal happiness, life mastery coach Jonathan Troen made it his mission to figure out how he could help people create joy in all areas of their lives. He devoted the next 15 years to developing his signature methodology and launching the self-love revolution. Welcome, Jonathan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Now, how did you become an expert on self-love?
Well, expert's a big word there. So let's be clear for everyone. I'm still practicing. It's an everyday practice. But basically, on paper, I was living the dream life. I was living in Hollywood, as you said. I was interviewing the biggest stars in the world. I lived 3 blocks from the beach. I could see the sunset out my window. It was a beautiful life, except I wasn't happy. And I couldn't figure out why, because I did everything they taught me to do. You create your life, carve out your life. And so I did all that. And then I just thought, well, what's wrong with me? And what I discovered was that we are our own worst enemies. It didn't matter what kind of successes I had. At the end of the day, I was a bully to myself, and I would beat myself up. I would pick out the things that went wrong that day, even if it was a great day. Every day, things go well, things don't go as you had planned. That's every day. There's a mixture of that. So I would always focus on the things that weren't going well. And so that's what I would do before I went to bed. I would review everything that went wrong. I beat myself up about it. Then I go to sleep. Then I wake up and I'd feel like crap because, it was just this crazy cycle. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So I left the entertainment business trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, and really, in a way, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I went on this search to figure out what was wrong with me. And I discovered a couple things. One is that other people were going through the same thing, that there were a lot of people that were successful on paper but weren't happy. And that was honestly a big epiphany for me, because I thought I was the only one who was messed up.
Yeah, to understand that you're not alone in that journey, and to understand that nothing was wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful realization.
Yeah, because, what I would do at the time, so I lived 3 blocks from the beach. So when I go to the beach, I still pass, I lived on 3rd Street, and I passed 2nd Street and then Ocean Avenue. And then there were these stairs that went down to the beach. And then there were all the houses on the beach. So I would still sit there and compare myself to every other person, even though I had achieved many of my goals. And I'm not going to say every goal I had, I achieved, but I achieved many of them. But as soon as I would achieve one, I'd celebrate for about, 2 minutes, and then I'd compare myself to someone who is still further down the line than I was. And that would just make me feel like crap again. So I just lived in the cycle of comparison, which most of us do because it's what we were taught in school, to compare ourselves
and
to every other
comparison is the thief of joy, right? So to your point of looking around, you had all of these amazing things, and yet comparing made you feel like there were things you were failing at, or other people were better, or I mean, that's
exactly. And here's the thing, there will always be someone that's further along than you are in something, even if you are number one at the top. Well, one is, how long can you sustain that for?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And you're not going to be number one in everything. Right. So there's so much opportunity to compare yourself.
Yeah.
So, to answer the original question, how did I figure out that this world of self-love? Well, I went on this journey to figure out what was wrong with me. And I'll cut to the the short version. Here's what I found out, and it was huge. There was nothing wrong with me. I was,
Yes.
what? There's nothing wrong with me. I mean, I spent decades trying to pretend I was someone else, trying to be good enough and be like that person there that was already doing stuff, that was further along. And once I got there, well, then I just was always trying to be somebody else, not me. And to have that freedom to go, there's nothing wrong with me. I mean, I can wake up and be Jonathan, and that's okay. Talk about peace and freedom.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more, because I think that journey is so relatable. I think so many people are going through that, keeping up with the Joneses, or comparing themselves to what they see on social media, comparing their body to what they see in magazines, comparing what they have to what someone else has, and thinking that something is wrong with them, that they're not good enough, or not smart enough, or not pretty enough, or not thin enough, or all the nonsense that comes with living in comparison. So tell us a little bit more about what your life felt like, what your experience of life was before you discovered self-love.
Exhausting. It's
Yeah.
just exhausting. And it's burnout, because it doesn't matter how great a job you're doing, we still beat ourselves up. It is exhausting to do that. And if you dig deeper into it, so why do we do these things? Why are we looking for the right job? Why do we want all the money in the bank? Why do we want our bodies to look a certain way? We do this so that we can impress other people, so that they will like us, so that they'll say things about us and they'll pay attention to us. All these things we're doing is so that people will look at us in a way that makes us feel good about ourselves. What the self-love practice does is it takes out that middleman of needing someone else to say you're good enough. You just wake up in the morning and say, you're good enough. Jonathan, you look great today. You're awesome just the way you are. So instead of waiting for someone else to say, you just say it to yourself. Now, the magic of it is that when you do this, it's a lot more peaceful. And look, just to be clear, are there good days and bad days, folks? Yes. Are there difficult times? Yes. It's just that the difficult times aren't so exhausting. We just take out the middleman. And when we do that, the other people that you're trying to impress, you just radiate a different energy. And
Yes.
more people are attracted to that energy. So you get what you want, which is really you liking yourself.
Yeah.
And you get the bonus that other people like you too. Instead of the game that we're playing which is try and get the other people to like you so that you like yourself. And it's a
Yeah.
game that just doesn't work long term.
Hmm. So, what would you say is the first step that someone can take who is still really caught up in needing that external validation, needing the accolades and the achievements? What can they do to shed that and come home to themselves?
Start by simply saying one kind thing to yourself
Mm.
every day. Now, I'm not gonna say just get rid of all the negative self-talk. It doesn't go away completely anyway. At least anybody I know, and from my experience, and I know people have been doing this work for even longer than I have, and I've been doing it for a long time as well. And you don't have, people say, well, just change your thoughts and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to change all your thoughts, okay? But what you can do is just add one thought a day. Look yourself in the mirror and say something kind and loving to yourself. And if you do this every day, it will soon begin to become a habit. And you'll start saying 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things. Not right away, but it will happen.
So being kind to yourself.
Look,
Yeah.
what self-love really is, when you boil it down, is it's the process of becoming your own best friend. So
Mm,
if a friend of ours was having a difficult day and they knocked on our door and they said, "Oh man, I'm having a difficult day," we would invite them in. We'd give them a hug, sit them on the couch, offer them a cup of tea. We would
yeah.
hold space for them. But when we're having a bad day, we beat ourselves up. Suck it up, do better. No, we need to start treating ourselves as a friend. You know, if a friend came over and they were wearing something, you'd say, "Oh, you're looking great." But we look in the mirror and go, "You look like crap. There's another gray hair. There's another wrinkle here." We just beat ourselves up nonstop. We are our own worst bullies. And we have to stop bullying ourselves and be a friend to ourselves. So just say something kind. "Hey, Jonathan, I like your eyes today. Hey, Jonathan, you were a really great dad today." Whatever. Find it. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't things you could have done better. There are, but what are you going to focus on? When you focus on all the negative, that's just what you're amplifying.
Yeah.
I acknowledge all my screw ups. There are tons of them. But then what do I focus on at the end of the day before I go to bed? Right. So I shared what I used to do. I'd review the day and focus on everything bad. Now what I do is I review the day. I acknowledge things that could have gone differently.
Mhm.
And then I just go, I replay the whole day, all the accomplishments I made. And
Focusing on the successes, focusing on the accomplishments, focusing on what went well and where you showed up for yourself. That is really profound. And it's something that seems so simple, but it makes such a difference. So I love what you said about becoming your own best friend.
yeah, imagine if you could come home to your best friend every day and it was you,
Yeah.
that your happiness is no longer reliant on other human beings. Now, just to be clear, that doesn't mean that connection is not important. We are wired for connection and we are here to be with other people. I want to be very clear about that. This isn't about leaving other people behind, but your joy is not reliant on them.
Yeah.
So if they leave the picture or if something happens, you still get to have your joy inside because it comes from you.
Absolutely. So you referenced earlier the moments where self-criticism creeps in, or the moments where limiting beliefs or paradigms creep in. How do you silence your inner critic? How do you smash through that limiting belief or the imposter syndrome that might occasionally rear its head?
I don't silence my inner critic anymore.
Good. So
When
how,
I
what
when I first learned
conversation?
how to code, went through code training and all that kind of stuff. I learned about that. It was, your inner critic, and here are the tools and strategies to banish the inner critic and to fight fear. I don't fight fear either. Fear is magical. I love fear. It's so powerful. If you learn how to harness the energy of fear. So I don't deny any parts of me anymore. What I've discovered is that most of the inner critics are right in the self-love revolution. There are the 13 saboteurs, the 13 inner critics, and the reality is that most of them are parts of us that in earlier versions of ourselves or in earlier parts of our lives um, had trouble, right? Maybe they didn't get the love they needed. They are trying to protect us. So instead of going, "Bad you, I'm going to banish you," I now have
Mhm.
conversations with them. I welcome them in. I befriend them. I go, "What's going on? Are you afraid? Are you afraid?" Okay, procrastinator is one of the 13 saboteurs, inner critics. A procrastinator, I see you're here. Or perfectionist. Oh, you didn't do that good enough. Okay, I see you're here. Is there something you're afraid of? Is there something that I can do? So the thing is, when you fight them, they get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So by simply observing them, taking a step back, they don't need to get louder and stronger. Now, the next step of that is they're also the inner guides.
Mm-hmm.
So once you soften, I didn't say get rid of, once you soften the voice of the inner critics and make them feel heard and understood, because that's all anybody wants is this world in this world is to be seen, heard, loved, and understood, including those parts of us that we try and hide. Once they feel seen, heard, loved, understood, you bring in your inner guides, your future self, your intuitive self, your adventurer, the courageous one, the people that have your back. And by people, it's you. You know, we're all a little schizophrenic. Not a doctor. I'm not saying that in the medical term, but we're all we all have these multiple personalities in us. If you listen to your self-talk, you're gonna hear it. Excuse me. So then you bring in your inner guides, and they guide you to the most beautiful places in the world. And you all have access to them because you know those soft voices, the inner critics are the loud ones. You know those soft voices that you hear something and you go, oh yeah, good idea. I'll do that in 5 minutes. And you don't do it. Those are your inner guides whispering to you.
Mm.
So it's about creating that bond with your inner guides and making it really strong. Our bonds with our inner critics are strong, and with our inner guides, they're weak. It's like we've been going to the gym, exercising the muscles of the inner critic. So it's just reversing it and making the muscles of the inner guides really strong.
And what, for someone new on that journey, someone who they are quite experienced beating themselves up, being the inner bully, listening to the inner critic, yelling at themselves, for someone who is going, there's guides and there are softer voices that can help me. How would you advise them to begin to amplify those messages, to tap into those messages, and to shift their behaviors, their patterns, their paradigms?
So let me start by saying I get it. Yeah, it's a little bit woo-woo, okay? So it's a little crazy out there. All right. But here's the deal. I share this with people and they say, well, what, do you want me to talk to myself? Yeah, I want you to talk to yourself. But the thing is, you're already talking to yourself. You talk to yourself nonstop every single day. Like, listen to yourself. You are talking to yourself. So I'm just saying, why don't you have a different kind of conversation? So one thing you can do is, a lot of us get overwhelmed. It's like, well, there's so much to do. And should I do this? And should I do that? And here's the thing. There's only one thing you can do at any given time. And if you want to know what you're supposed to do, all you need to do is just pause. And you ask this simple question: what's my next best action? That's it.
Yes.
And then you pause. You will get an answer. Now, one of the scariest things in the world is to actually do what that answer tells you to do. Often, sometimes it's not, but sometimes it's like, really? That's what I'm supposed to do now? No. So what you have to do then is practice courage. Now, courage is a skill. Courage isn't a trait that some people are born with and some people aren't born with. Courage is a skill, just like playing basketball or playing the piano, and skills can be practiced. You're probably going to suck at it first if you haven't been practicing, but you can practice, and practice does not make perfect, but practice does make better. So ask the question, what's my next best action? What should I do right now? Get the answer and then practice courage. It's as simple as that. But you have to start having these conversations with yourself. You just need to change the conversation that you're already having.
So for someone who says, okay, amazing, I'm going to ask myself, what is my next best step? What is my next best action? And then I'm going to summon the courage and I'm going to do it. And then they go into overwhelm and freeze, and they don't take that action. And they want to summon that courage. They want to exercise that muscle, and they're frozen in overwhelm and inaction. What is something that you can advise them to take that first step?
So let's take it all back a little bit, because there is a step before all of this. And this is the practice of acceptance. That when you feel that overwhelm, what are you feeling? You're feeling a physical sensation in your body. And it's a sensation that you don't like. So you're fighting it. And what we have to learn to do is accept physical sensations in our body, even the ones we don't like. Now, there's a fear there because we've been told it's not good to feel these things and we need to banish them and get rid of them. But you know it doesn't work because most of us have been trying this for decades and it doesn't work. What does work is to pause and accept, okay, my mind is all these thoughts are running around and I feel my heart is beating and my chest is tight, and don't try and change it. In fact, this is what you say. This is the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh. And I'm sure I'm not saying his name right still, but yeah, amazing teacher. What he says is, well, one is you don't say I am overwhelmed or I am angry or I am afraid. It's there's sadness inside of me, there's anger inside of me, there's fear inside of me, there's overwhelm inside of me. So there's overwhelm inside of me. And then you say this. What did I say before about being seen, heard, and understood? It's just a part of you that wants to be seen, heard, and understood. Excuse me. So what do you say? You feel the overwhelm and you simply say, I see you. I hear you. I will not fight you. I will be here for as long as you need me to be here. Do that and watch what happens. Now, the first thing that people say is, well, it didn't go away, as if it's magically supposed to get rid of in 10 seconds, something that you've been building up for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
The goal isn't to make it go away. The goal is to see you as you are, to be your friend. Over time, if you do this, it may not go away. It will lessen. It will lessen its hold over you. And the other thing you can do, so that's one thing. And the other thing you can do is, let's go back to treat yourself like your best friend. So if your best friend was knocking at your door, go, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. What would you do for them? And you do that for you. Maybe you need a bath. Maybe you need to go get a massage. Right. And that's the thing. So when you ask what's my next best action, most people think it has to be something related to work. Now, often it is. But sometimes that voice says, go get a massage or go get some ice cream. Well, I don't know. That's so self-indulgent. I can't do that. If that's what the voice is telling you, then that's what you have to do.
And what do you do for your self-care? What do you do to indulge yourself, to replenish your cup?
Look, there are the 4 pillars of self-love. The first is acceptance. So I just went over that a little bit, right? So accept what is happening, not the story. You got to remember, not the story of what's overwhelming me or what's making me sad, angry, or afraid. By the way, these are not negative emotions. No such thing as a negative emotion. There are human emotions, but no negative emotions. So we have to learn how to practice acceptance. The second pillar is gratitude. And it's follow the science, folks. Gratitude. Look, your body is a chemical manufacturing machine. And gratitude helps your brain and your body manufacture the chemicals of serotonin, of oxytocin. So these are the good ones, the happiness ones. So if you want to feel these good emotions, these good chemicals, I mean, you can get chemicals from outside the body too, but when you get the ones from inside the body, believe I've done the ones from outside the body, I get it, but the ones from inside the body is so much cooler and they last longer. So gratitude is such an easy way to fill your cup up.
Yeah.
Now this one's big. The third pillar is forgiveness. You got to practice forgiveness. I have a daily forgiveness practice. I practice forgiveness every single day. Probably the biggest change I ever made in my life. Forgiveness is the number one skill none of us have been taught.
Yes, yes. Take us into your practice before you go into the fourth pillar. What does your practice look like?
So there are two sides of it. One is a longer meditation. So, and that's and if anybody wants it, I mean, it's a part of the Self-Love Revolution course. But if you're watching this and you just want that, get in touch with me. I'll share it with you. And that one is to work through stuff in our past, right? That either forgiveness of ourselves or someone else that we've just been stewing in our heads for months and years. Because, right, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? That story you keep replaying in your head every day. And if only that would have gone differently, my whole life would be different right now. But it's not. Doesn't matter how often you replay the story differently. We're here today. So I'm happy to share that longer meditation with anybody. But here's my daily one. And to be clear, so let's define forgiveness. Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different. Okay? I didn't make that up.
Say that one more time for our audience, because that is so critical. So what is forgiveness?
Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different.
Giving up hope that the past can be different. And that ties right back in to your point about not the story, but you're here now.
Yeah.
You're here now.
And it doesn't mean that what someone else did is okay. It also doesn't mean what you did or didn't do is okay. But it can't be different. So this is what I do every night before I go to bed. These are the words. With that understanding that forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can't be different. I forgive myself and anyone else who has hurt or offended me, physically, monetarily, or emotionally, knowingly or unknowingly. Because half the time, if it's someone else, they don't know they did it.
Right.
I wish them no harm. That one's important, because how many times do we replay in our head, oh, I hope this happens to them, or I hope they feel the pain I'm feeling. I wish them no harm. I accept this moment as it is. So back to acceptance. And I release myself from any future pain. I forgive myself and anyone else who has hurt or offended me, physically, monetarily, or emotionally. And I change the order of those. The order doesn't matter. Knowingly or unknowingly. I wish them no harm. I accept this moment as it is, and I release myself from any future pain. And that just clears the whole day of all the screw ups you did today, right? Or me, right? All the screw ups I did that I forgave myself. I'm done. The things that other people did that hurt or upset me, gone. I don't have to go to bed with it anymore. And then I don't need to wake up with it the next morning.
Yeah.
It's the single biggest change I've made to my life is having a daily forgiveness practice.
That's so profound. And it is something that ties in with acceptance. It's something that ties in with gratitude. And it is an actionable thing that each and every person can do, regardless of where they are in life, what their circumstances are, to set themselves free through the daily practice of forgiveness. That is incredibly powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us and for going through your specific practice. So what is the fourth pillar in self-love?
Yeah, the fourth pillar is what we spoke about before, being kind to yourself. It's self-love, the words of self-love. So it's looking yourself in the mirror and going, hey, you look great. I mean, look, I used to pick my face apart and all the things that I didn't like about it every time I looked in the mirror. Now it's like, okay, this wrinkle there, this is a newer one. So now, okay, when I first see it, it's like, oh, there's a new wrinkle. But then I pause and I go, hey, wrinkle, welcome to the family. And it's just a different way of looking at ourselves. Most of us will complain when our neck hurts. But when our neck doesn't hurt, how often are you thanking your neck for being able to turn your head? We'll complain when our knee hurts walking up the stairs. How often are you thanking your knee for carrying you your whole entire life? So we've learned to complain about ourselves and to look at ourselves with unkindness.
Mhm.
And we just need to switch that and have gratitude, right? So when we talk about, I mentioned gratitude before, part of it is gratitude. But when we think of gratitude, often we just think of outer circumstances. Now, these things are to be grateful for, the outer circumstances. And we have to add, how can we be grateful for what we have, for this body, for us, for
Mhm.
all of it. There's so much to be grateful for. And I'll be honest with you, it's become such a habit with me. It didn't start out this way. Those of you that we always want to compare ourselves to, so people that are trying to start this journey compare themselves to me and go, well, he's got to figure it out. It was not always like this.
Right.
But now I look in any mirror. I'll be at the airport and I'll go to the bathroom, there'll be a mirror there, and I see myself. I go, hey, Jonathan, you're awesome. I love you just the way you are. It's become so much of a habit. Of course, I had to practice it as a habit. And then it's things like, okay, so I've coughed a couple times in our interview. So the older me, after the interview, would have been like, oh, Jonathan, you couldn't cover up your cough. You couldn't figure out, okay, well, I got something going on today. I don't know exactly what it is. I'd rather it not be here. I'd rather my voice be normal. It's a little hoarse right now. But instead of worrying about my occasional coughs and my voice, after this interview or tonight when I look in the mirror, I'm going to review all the good stuff that we connected, that I was able to share. And I'm going to ignore the fact that I coughed and I didn't sound great. We get to choose what we focus on. So that's the fourth pillar, is choosing self-compassion and self-love. I'm going to have compassion for Jonathan, who showed up, even though he wasn't 100%, and just gave it his all. And I'm going to give that guy a hug and a pat on his back and smile at him and love him to death. Or love him
Yes.
to life. That's a horrible phrase. Love someone to death. I'm going to love him to life.
Yes, there you go.
And that's what I want you guys to do. That's how we have to start treating ourselves. That's how you have to treat yourself if you want to have a joyous life. And if you're a parent, and I am a parent, this is how you have to treat yourself so that your children can
Mm.
learn that this is how they should be treating themselves.
Mm. Yes.
Themselves or themselves. Another thing, I'd be beating myself up. Did I get my grammar completely wrong? These are the stupid things that we beat ourselves up for. And instead of going, let's just enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, so profound. And you mentioned being a parent, uh, and you mentioned this incredible journey that you're on, and really your mission to help people become their own best friends and practice self-love. what's your core why? What's your burning desire? What's your driving force?
My mission is to help people find the joy inside of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us are searching for joy outside of us, and it doesn't exist there. I mean, there are things that can bring moments of happiness and fun and good times, and these are great. But we have to begin to find the joy inside of ourselves. If we would, and look, again, this is just follow the science stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of what we're talking about is emotional intelligence, understanding our emotions, understanding why they are there. That's what acceptance really is. It's being able to go, okay, this is what overwhelm feels like. This is what fear feels like. This is what anger feels like. You know, we've been taught, don't feel these things. No, feel these things, but understand them. And according to the science, the number one predictor of future success is emotional intelligence. But we're not teaching it in schools. So a big dream of mine is to follow the science and not have special social emotional learning classes at school. I think it's great they're doing that. It's a first step. But actually teach science in schools.
Mm-hmm.
What the body, what your body is going through when it's experiencing anxiety and stress.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids at school are, and I'm not talking about mine in particular, but you know, my wife runs the Kids Life Mastery program through our yoga studio, and the kids she gets, many of whom are in high school, they're just put under so much stress and anxiety. I want this stuff to be taught in science class because it is science in schools, and I truly believe, right? So to get to a bigger why, and this isn't shared on page 1 of my website, but I do believe that if we taught this stuff at schools, bullying would disappear. Because if we understand the emotions that are going on inside of us, we don't need to bully.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, if we understand the emotions that are going on inside of us, we're not going to wind up being a victim.
Mm-hmm.
But because we don't understand what's going on, and I just know that, well, I need to be better than someone else, right? That's what you're taught. Be better than someone else. Don't be the same as someone else. And that we wind up in a lot of trouble, and we get a lot of bullying, and we get school shootings.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to help people find the joy inside of themselves. And I believe a side effect of that, if we can really teach it nationwide, would be, if not eradicating, certainly lessening the bullying, and if not eradicating, lessening school and mass shootings. Not to go on a dour point there, but I really believe that that's how powerful this work is.
Absolutely. And when did you realize that was your mission? Was there an epiphany, an event where something that set you on this path? Because that is an incredible mission and it is so needed.
You know, I guess I made the connection between that a few years ago when it was after school shooting, and a friend posted online about, you know, why is this happening and why can't we figure it out? And I wrote a page-long response to him, which he then ended up sharing with, you know, she's followed by many, 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 many people. And that's when I actually made the connection that if we could find this joy in ourselves, and we were taught how to, that it could be different, that we wouldn't have to take our pain out on other people. Most of us take our pain out on other people. We want other people to suffer because we don't feel great. There's a lot of anxiety in our society. It's not going away tomorrow. And people are trying to figure out how to get rid of it. I can't tell you how to get rid of it. I can tell you how to lessen it maybe, but I'm not going to tell you how to get rid of it. But I am going to teach you how to accept it so that you don't feel like you need to take it out on someone else. because bosses are taking out on employees and employees are taking out on these people. And it's just this crazy line of how do we get the next person to feel what I'm feeling, because I don't want to feel it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess it was this other person that really highlighted the connection for me. But I guess on a bigger thing, so I got it. You mentioned at the very beginning that I spent time in the entertainment business. My first career was in radio. I remember the day I chose to get into radio. I was in junior high. I was the picked on person. So I was having a bad day at school. And I went home, I turned on the radio, the DJ played a song and said something funny, and I had a smile on my face. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to put a smile on people's faces. So I got into radio. So that evolved into, a career in the entertainment world. But what I did was I forgot about that reason of putting a smile on people's faces. So my purpose was to get a better job title and make more money, so I could impress other people at parties and things like that. They don't want to hang out with me. So eventually I had to leave the entertainment business. So now what I say now is I want to help people find the joy inside of themselves. So if you hear that, my original goal was to put a smile on people's faces. Now it's to help people find the joy inside of themselves. They're very similar. It's just with a new understanding that I have that I didn't have at 13 or 20 or 25 or 30 or 40, that it would come. I thought we could make people happy from the outside, and I could have a role in that. Now I know it has to come from the inside, and I can teach people how to open that door for themselves. I started rambling. Did any of that make sense?
Oh, that is amazing. It is so, so needed. So throughout the pandemic and the increasing isolation, the shift to everything being online, and therefore really the amplification of seeing everyone else's Instagram life and the images portrayed, and of course the comparisons that we spoke about earlier. What have you seen shift within the people that are coming to you to learn self-care, to learn self-love? What's the biggest difference you've noticed within them since the pandemic?
Since the pandemic. Look, the pandemic's been hard for a lot of people. I remember when things first started, I wrote this piece and that I shared with people. It's okay not to be okay, right? That people were having the people struggling, and it's okay if you're not feeling great. Hey, guess what? It's okay. Then there were a lot of people that were doing great, feeling guilty that so many people are suffering, and it was actually a windfall for them. It was really good. They got to spend more time with family. They were really excited about it. Some created new jobs that could only happen because of this. So I had to write another piece that it's okay to be doing great. And then I had to write a third one that, like, it's okay to be in the middle too, like not to be a mess and not to be celebrated, and just to be in the middle here. The
Just to
whole
accept. Yeah.
the whole process is a pathway to accepting ourselves. So what's the change is it's accepting ourselves as we are. Things are great, accept it. You don't have to feel guilty just because other people are suffering. Things are difficult. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, it's difficult. Feel it. Don't try and hide it. Just feel it. And things are in between. Great. The truth is, when you can embrace the in between, that's when the door to life's magic really opens. Because we think, we talk about gratitude. A lot of people think gratitude is when something really great happens, the big things happen. And yes, be grateful for those. But those things don't happen every day. They just don't. You're not closing the big deal every day. You're not getting married every day or creating the great, meeting the perfect person every single day. So we're waiting for the big things or the really difficult things so we can figure a way out of it. But most of life is lived in the in-between, the mundane.
Mm-hmm.
When you can find joy and beauty in the mundane, well, now you got an awesome life.
Yes, yes, all things yes. So what would you say to help somebody be able to be present in each moment, to recognize each moment, to recognize and embrace and celebrate the mundane? What's your key for being present?
Well, first, you're not going to start off being present in every moment. And even after years, I'm certainly not present in every moment. But it's having a daily practice of presence. So it's whether you follow my meditations or Thich Nhat Hanh or Eckhart Tolle or there are lots of great teachers. But it's being here in the moment and feeling, the table. Okay, I can feel it, the chair. I mean, I have a yoga practice. We have a mindfulness center here in Austin, Texas, where we teach yoga and other mindfulness activities. You have to have a practice now. It doesn't need to be a half hour every day. It's pretty profound. If you start meditating a half hour or an hour every day, it's profound. But just take 1 minute, 2 minutes, or one breath. One breath is one meditation. So it's pausing. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about bringing meditation into daily life. Like we're not wandering off and going into the ashram. It's like, how do we do it in daily life? So he talks about when you're at the red light. Most of us are at the red light. Oh, when's it going to change? And he talks about it's an opportunity to observe the breath. Well, that's certainly a lot more fun. He talks about when the phone rings, instead of just grabbing it, just pause, take a breath. And now, how do you want to respond when you pick up the phone? All frazzled? So it's just taking moments of awareness. Now, the more you do it one a day, like meditate for 1 minute a day, you'll probably begin to like it, and then you'll want to do it for 2 minutes. But if you begin to practice in this way, you'll just start doing it more and more. If it's beneficial for you, if it's not, then you have to find another mindfulness practice. Do yoga, do things like that. But you have to begin to feel. We've been taught not to feel. Don't be sad. Don't be angry. Don't be afraid. When we're taught this, basically they're saying don't be human, because all humans are at times sad, angry, and afraid. So this is a process of noting, oh, I'm sad now. It's okay. What does sadness feel like? Not the story. What does it feel like? Oh, I'm angry right now. What does that feel like? Not the story, not replaying, oh, he did that, not replaying that over and over. Going, what does it feel like? And having compassion for this body that is feeling anger. We just have to start feeling. That's the science. Follow the science and start feeling and understanding what is happening inside of your body. My son's in first grade, and he's a great school. I'm not putting anything down. He loves his teachers. He's having a great time there. And it fascinates me how much we teach about outer space and the planets and all that, which is important. I think we should know what the planets are. But it fascinates me how much we teach about outer space, but not what is happening here, in here, in here. And I think we just need to start teaching that. And the more you can begin to study you and your body, the more present you will become in many, if not every moment.
Amazing. Amazing. So let's imagine that you've come to the end of your life and it has been the life best lived. So you have instilled in your children, you've instilled in your community, you've impacted the world to be present, to love and accept yourself, to be your own best friend, to practice gratitude and forgiveness, to um, to come home to yourself. It's the end of your life. What is the story you want told about you? What do you want them to say?
So this is true. I don't care what they say about me. I know we're supposed to leave a legacy and it's
Yes.
supposed to be about us. I don't care what they say about me. I hope they are kind to themselves. And if more people are kind to themselves, that's the legacy I want to leave. And if someone remembers that I had a small part of it, look, I didn't make self-love up, right? This isn't my, there are great teachers before me. I learned from Louise Hay and many other people. I don't care if they remember my name. If they do, yeah, great. I mean, I'm not going to be upset that they do. But I want people to be kind to themselves so that they can be kinder to other people. Because we are living in this world which is so divided today. And it's because we are afraid and we keep building up the fear on all sides.
Mm-hmm.
If we can begin to reduce that, if we can be kinder to ourselves, and therefore a side effect of that is that we can be kinder to other people. If we can be forgiving of ourselves, and a side effect of that is that we are forgiving of other people, even those that we don't agree with. That's the legacy that I want to leave behind.
Absolutely. How can people learn more about you and connect with you? How can they become part of the self-love revolution?
Well, definitely go to selfloverevolution.com. There's a button there somewhere on that page. I don't know if it'd be the same when you go as it is today, but it says join the revolution. Click it, join the revolution. And it is a revolution because there are a lot of people that do not want you to live this way, because people who are afraid and in pain buy a lot of stuff so that they feel better. So there are a lot of forces that don't want you to practice this way. This is a revolution. If you want to live differently, this is the revolution. So go to selfloverevolution.com. You can find me, Jonathan Troen, on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all the regular places too. Be happy to connect with you. But please, let's join this revolution, spread the revolution, and let's start living differently.
Absolutely. Everyone connect with Jonathan. Join the revolution. Jonathan, any parting words that you would like to share with our audience today?
I just want you to go to the mirror right now and say one kind thing to yourself. Just start there. One kind thing to yourself. And then do it as an experiment. This is an experiment. The old way didn't work, right? So just try an experiment. If it doesn't work for you, if you really do it for a month and it doesn't work for you, let me know. I would love to know your experience. But just try it. One thing every day for the next month. And then see what the results are.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being here. You have shared so many golden nuggets on the power of becoming your own best friend, the practice of self-love, being the embodiment of love and kindness and gratitude and acceptance and forgiveness for yourself and for others. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
Till
thank you
next
for
time.
having me. It's been a joy.
Thank you. Till next time.